The psychology of those who lie compulsively, without remorse. There is a kind of lie that does not come from desperation, not from immediate fear, not from the need to escape consequences. It appears naturally, sometimes even smoothly. And the most disturbing part is this: there is no guilt. Some people lie all the time. They lie about small things. They lie about big things. They lie even when telling the truth would be easier. And when they are confronted, they do not show regret. They do not hesitate. They do not avoid eye contact. They do not truly apologize. So the question is not only why do they lie? The more unsettling question is, why don't they feel remorse? Lying does not usually begin as cruelty. Most compulsive liars did not start this way. At first, the lie had a purpose. It protected them. It avoided punishment. It preserved an image. Maybe they grew up in an environment where making mistakes was dangerous, or where the truth was never enough, or where being themselves did not guarantee acceptance. In that context, lying becomes a survival tool, and the brain learns quickly. This works, and whatever works gets repeated. When lying stops being a choice and becomes a reflex, over time, something changes. The person no longer thinks before lying. The lie comes automatically, like a conditioned response. Just like someone driving on autopilot, the compulsive liar reacts to the world without conscious decision. They do not ask, "Should I lie?" The mind already answers, "This is how I function." At this point, lying is no longer a moral act. It is a neural habit, and repeated habits have a powerful effect. They numb emotion, the silence of guilt. Guilt depends on one essential thing: emotional connection to the impact of one's actions. When someone lies repeatedly, two things may happen. First, they learn to justify. Everyone lies. This doesn't hurt anyone. If I told the truth, it would be worse. The second is deeper. They learn not to feel. The brain begins to shut down the emotional response associated with lying, not out of conscious malice, but out of psychological economy. Feeling guilt all the time hurts, so the mind chooses silence. When lying becomes identity, in many cases, lying stops being just behavior and becomes identity. The person does not lie to get something. They lie to protect who they believe they are: an image, a character, an idealized version of themselves. Truth becomes a threat, not because it is cruel, but because it collapses the internal narrative. And when identity is at stake, the brain will do anything to protect it, including lying, without remorse. Control, power, and subtle superiority. There is another element that appears in certain profiles: the feeling of control. Lying can create a subtle sense of power. The liar controls the information, controls perception, controls the game. When this repeats, lying stops being defensive and becomes strategic. In these cases, the absence of remorse does not come from absolute coldness, but from the belief that other people are simply pieces on a board. It is not hatred. It is instrumentalization. Is this psychopathy? Not always. This is a common mistake. Many compulsive liars feel emotions, form bonds, suffer, and often see themselves as victims. The difference is that they learn to switch off empathy in specific moments, especially when the truth threatens their internal stability. Psychopathy is one possible path, but it is not the most common one. More often, what exists is emotional immaturity, learned patterns, and a deeply distorted relationship with one's own identity. The invisible cost. Lying without remorse may seem like an advantage, but it comes at a high price. The person begins to live fragmented, always calculating, always tracking versions, always maintaining characters. Over time, emptiness appears. The feeling that no one truly knows the real self, because perhaps they no longer know who they are either. And the more one lies, the further away the truth feels, and the harder it becomes to return. Final thought: not every lie is the villain. But when lying becomes a pattern and remorse disappears, something deep is being avoided. It is not simply a lack of character. It is an unresolved conflict with one's own truth. And the final question is not, why does this person lie? It is, what would happen if they stopped?